I'm Cape Joel, and this is Comic Smack, the weekly comic book show where we take closer, more in-depth looks at the coolest and most happening things going on in the world of comics and superheroes. And on today's show, we're taking a look at the long-awaited Batman issue number 50. It's been a long time coming, but Bruce Wayne is finally ready to reclaim his place on the Bat throne. And what convenient timing, too. I mean, Batman becoming Batman again? Why, it's almost like he has a movie coming out this week or something. Let's hop into the next issue and find out what happens.
So, as the comic opens, a newly resolute Bruce Wayne is ready to put on the bat suit one more time and head out into the city to save the day. This is a great panel filled with a ton of references to classic bat suits. Over with Gordon, he's still royally messed up from his last run-in with Mr. Bloom. If you'll remember, the villain literally put his spiny fingers down his throat. It was really gross. Of course, Jim, good cop that he is, doesn't want to leave until the job is done, and as far as he's concerned, he's still this city's only hope. Things get worse when a bunch of the criminals that Jim put away, now empowered by Mr. Bloom's seeds, come at him for revenge. And that's when, out of the night, like a strike of lightning, Batman doth emerge to save the day. And oh look, he's sporting a brand new costume too, with some orange outlining. Interesting. You know what, I'm gonna be honest, not exactly the biggest fan of the orange, and I know that's weird coming from me. If you've ever watched me create a character, I almost always put orange in my character. It's like they wanted to do yellow, but didn't A, want to make it look too much like Gordon's suit, and B, didn't want to be so cliche. Gordon is relieved to have Batman back in action, and he quickly gets him up to speed on everything that's going on. It seems that Mr. Bloom is using the Hadron Collider over at Powers Industry, as well as the seeds that he's implanted in a bunch of people all over Gotham to create some sort of new artificial sun for his Garden of Death. The cops, who now come packing their own bat suits, desperately try to stop Mr. Bloom, but it's no go. He was able to control Gordon's bat suit, and he's able to control theirs too, which means Batman is going to have to get in there and stop them just to get to Mr. Bloom. Of course, there's still the big hanging question of who Mr. Bloom is and why all of this is going on. Well, you might be shocked to find out it's actually Duke, of all people, who solved this mystery. You see, while rummaging through Penguin's office, he found a bunch of files, poorly scribbled files of course, but it detailed the Crown Scholarship Foundation. Basically a list of super intelligent Gothamites who were given grants of money to make the city a better place. One of those names was Duke, and the other one was Daryl. Of course, why didn't I see this before? As Daryl puts it, he's not Mr. Bloom, but he was the original Mr. Bloom. After the destruction that was left in the wake of the Zero Year, Daryl tried to create the seeds to put power back into the hands of the people, that they didn't have to be afraid anymore. But after his beloved cousin Peter died while taking the seeds, you'll remember this was the event that took place in the annual, Daryl shut down his whole operation, only starting it back up again after Endgame and the Joker attacks. That means this new Mr. Bloom that we're fighting right now was one of his test subjects that gained sentience, stole the costume, and struck out on his own. And so what we're essentially left with here is a three-way battle against Mr. Bloom. Gordon, against Batman's orders, returns to Powers Industries to try and retrieve his mech suit, but more importantly, a piece of superconductive metal that the Powers were working on. Meanwhile, Batman, pulling out his biggest war suit to date, does battle with Mr. Bloom in the streets, while Duke, up in the sky, tries to gain control of the War Zeppelin and defeat Daryl. Duke just barely manages to escape the Zeppelin as it careens into Mr. Bloom. Meanwhile, Gordon, in a great moment of personal sacrifice, stands on top of the Powers building ready to absorb the blast from the artificial sun, all the while his internal monologue talks about everything he's learned in his time as Batman. He says that when Batman first disappeared, he was scared, not because some supervillain might take over the city. He was scared because it might reveal something he never wanted to think about, and that is that the law and order system in Gotham might actually be broken, and Jim Gordon as a cop, Jim Gordon as a man, might not be able to fix it on his own. But in the end, that's always what Jimbo respected about Batman. He was a hero who saw the hero in everyone around him, and it's at that moment all the people with seeds inside them tear them out. Why? Because their hero has returned to them, that's why. For a second you think like Jim Gordon might actually have died, and in a nice piece of continuity they go all the way back to his first time coming to Gotham back in Batman Year 1. But no, Gordon is a tough old war dog and he manages to pull through. Moreover than that, his heroism will be rewarded. Jerry Powers has decided to shutter the entire Batmech project, instead wanting to use those funds to empower the police force. A police force that will once again be led by Commissioner Gordon. Oh, don't feel bad for Maggie Sawyer, everybody. Some strings were pulled, so now she'll get to run her own major crimes division, just like she always wanted. And as for Bruce Wayne, well, he's busy too. He goes to thank Duke for all the hard work that he did while he was away and offers him a job. Wow, making it so that everything that happened in We Are Robin was completely useless up until this point. And as far as Batman goes, well, he's back and better than ever as the comic ends. And so that was Batman number 50, a comic that brings to a close one of the strangest and probably one of the most divisive modern Batman stories out there. For what it's worth, I like Jim Gordon's short time as Batman. Granted, I felt Detective Comics probably wrung more good material out of the new status quo. This is also probably the coolest Duke has ever been in anything ever. He actually ended up being a super integral part of this story in the very end, although I have to wonder now that Snyder is leaving this book, will anyone care to run with this character? I mean, he has his own book, but that book isn't very good. There is definitely a feeling of status quo being returned across the board, not just Bruce Wayne returning as Batman, but Gordon being commissioner again after being ousted in Eternal. I really appreciate that in the end it was Gordon who defeated Mr. Bloom. After all, it was his enemy to beat, not Batman's. Capullo's art was also crazy off the hook here. Lots of giant monsters, lots of different robot designs, just cool stuff from start to finish. Overall, I would give this one a 9 out of 10. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching my newest video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll feel like checking out some more videos I have on offer here at Cape Joel.